Hey YouTube, so we are at Gore, Virginia, and Gore is also known as the Cove, and we are doing the Corum Trail. This will be the first part of it, just the base of the Corum Trail to start with, because this is going to be a winching video. And at the base of the trail, there is a tree that is down, or like a log obstacle, and apparently it's been here for a while because they knew this obstacle was here and they wanted to play on it. And there's a bypass on the right, and I'll link a video on the corner that kind of explains bypasses, but it's a way to get around obstacles, and they just happen to have a bypass here. So as you can see, the Jeep in front of me is basically stuck on this obstacle, and one of the things with going over obstacles like this is typically you want to go over them at an angle so you don't get high-centered like this, and going over at an angle may not guarantee that he made it over the obstacle. But typically you don't want to have both of your wheels go over it at the same time. So we're gonna pull him off the obstacle and pull him back basically, and that's one of the things about winches you have to keep in mind. Typically winches only let you pull yourself forward. If you ever get in a situation where you have to back off something, you're 100% dependent on somebody else. Now what I'm doing here is something that I was actually taught. When you attach a winch onto another vehicle, typically you want to hand the winch line over to somebody else and have somebody else put the winch line on the cables, preferably the owner of the other vehicle. And the general idea is you're kind of like mitigating liability a little bit. If I hook the winch like on the Jeep to the wrong spot, and then I break something off, like I break the bumper off or whatever, they could say that I'm fully responsible. But if the owner of the vehicle attaches it to the wrong spot, let's say, and then some damage occurs, hopefully I mitigated just a little bit of responsibility or liability for breaking whatever it was, because I was the one hooking it up. So when I'm leading groups, sometimes I'll feel a little more comfortable hooking it up, but when I'm not leading groups, and a lot of times I'll just hand the winch line to somebody else and have them hook it up. So the right there, the person in front of me, that's Cherokee. I don't know his real name, but everybody calls him Turkey in it, and his license plate actually says Turkey on it because he drinks a wild turkey. And he's one of the guides for a couple of the local Jeep groups in Virginia. So here we are, we just do the simple recovery of pulling it back, and obviously you want to pull the line off the ground so that the vehicle doesn't drive over it, and also because it's synthetic line, you don't want to have the line drag on the ground either, so that's why he's just like holding it up. The symbol there that he has with his hand, the fist, that means stop, and then normally if you see them spin their fingers in a certain direction or point, I like pointing, that means either like line out or line in. And then what he's doing with the cable there is he's moving it back and forth left and right, because it's very important that it properly threads into the winch. So the fist there means stop. And so anyway, there's a little basic kind of intro to give you an idea of what you're looking at if you come up here and decide to do some of these trails. Obviously, if we're having a winch right off the first obstacle, it means that the trail is probably going to be pretty difficult. And also kind of a few tips there on winching also. So now we'll go up and basically go around the obstacle and use the bypass. And like I was saying, you can't really depend on a trail having a bypass. Some trails have them, some trails don't. But typically, if there's a very, very large obstacle that's that's very difficult to pass, there's usually a pretty high likelihood that there's some kind of bypass, just because it's so difficult to cross over. And like I was saying, this is not a Big Dogs event, but we are at the Big Dogs off-road park area. This is a local Jeep club that we're with that just had access to the property. So don't expect that this is the exact way they do Big Dogs. This is just us. So thank you, and please like and subscribe.